Sunday. Okay. All right. This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And we have with us at Wizard via Zoom, Sid Yiddish of Sid Yiddish and his candy store Henchmen. How are you today, Sid?
Oh, fantastic. Clean and fresh and ready. Fantastic. Clean and fresh.
Am I pronouncing your name correctly, Sid?
Yes, it is Sid Yiddish. Some people call me Sid Yiddish, but Sid is just fine.
Okay, then we'll call you Sid. I just saw somewhere, I think, I don't know if it was in some research, and it was there was like a correct pronunciation is Sid Yiddish, but I never heard when we watched you perform, we had not heard anybody address you as Sid yet. Well,
That's good. That's good to hear.
Well, Sid, what is the genre of Sid Yiddish and his candy store Henchmen?
Three of them: improvisation, free jazz, and of course noise. Well, of course, there's the fourth one: music that isn't music.
Mm-hmm. Is that the music that you played when you were on American's Got Talent?
When I was on America's Got Talent, the first time, no, but the second time, which was 2013, yes, we did 90-minute delay on the Eisenhower, and we didn't last 45 seconds. So,
and there was that the other time, was that a deer impersonation? What was that?
Well, the first time I throat sang a composition of my own called Michael Board Weasel Squeezer. And Michael Board is a friend of mine who lives in New York. So it was like my sort of exercise, but it became a minor hit for me when I started throat singing. And the deer impression was everybody seems to latch onto more than the throat singing. Was just something from a song of mine called Oh Dear that I had written in the early 2000s. And it was just something that they liked. They seemed to like because they thought it was so silly and so whacked out. But then everybody who has seen it since is either think I'm so whacked out or, you know, a little bit off, but, you know, such is life.
Well, the early 2000s, that was before the your actual the occasion when you know, the December 10, 2010 was like the first day of like that you actually Sid Yiddish and his candy store Henchmen came into existence. But in the early 2000s, then you were already forming your ideas about what you like to play.
No, not really. It was just it had been there, it had been growing. I played with a few other bands. I played with the Chicago Scratch Orchestra, who was there before, almost right there before. I had a band before that, a couple years before that, called $2 Cockroach. And then when I split with them, I had been playing with the Scratch Orchestra at that point. And the ideas had always been there, but the way it was really born was two ways, really, two instances. October 24th of 2010, I had played with Scratch Orchestra on another station here in Chicago. And a former bandmate who played on the first occasion, his name is Viking Dentist, he showed me that I could do this, how easy this was. And since I'm a poet and an artist of many talents and genres, et cetera, he showed me how to do it. And it's just gone on from that since. But the occasion of December 10th, that was at the 1901 Gallery. It was on Walcott, right off of Belmont, and something called called Project in D, and a guy by the name of Ed Naraki had invited me to do this, and he said I can do anything. So I put together a crack band, not off a crack, but crack band, and that's how we started. Viking Dentist was on the first. He did play on the first occasion, including it also included a female German Shepherd who hauled on a few courses.
Did the German Shepherd know what time it was to how?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The timing was perfect, and she knew just the right notes to hit.
Mm. Wow. So was that performance? What genre was that performance then of the four that you described?
It was all four of them actually. It was more. It was just everything. It was like just boom, just kind of all came together. Like,
was that the date? Was that the time when you started getting more gigs? Did you become recognized because of December 10th, 2010?
no, definitely not. It grew over time. I mean, I had to go out and get those gigs myself. I was already recognized on my own for America's Got Talent, and that helped me, but I'm the one that had to, get everything rolling.
So there was a big business side to for your career then. You had a lot of implementation, networking, etc. to do.
Yeah, I guess to that degree, yeah, sure. But once people recognized me, or we were doing those early gigs, I mean, and some of them were really in strange places. It got rolling from there. But I don't know how I managed to get all those, but I did in a short period of time.
What kind of strange places are you talking about then?
Well, we were playing like dark alleys and planetary gigs, and oh no, I'm kidding about that, but we were doing boiler room overnight places, abandoned houses. We did an abandoned apartment gig, I remember, and we were the only band that played because somebody had tossed a brick in the window, and they'd called the cops. So we got out of there as soon as we could. Somebody else, but definitely shut down the gig. But we were the only band to play that one.
Do you know why someone threw a brick?
I think they were on meth or crack or something like that. Definitely not fans of the Henchmen, but.
Did you get any paying audience members for that gig, for these gigs in strange places?
Did we get a paying? Well, that one was free. We've mostly played a lot of free gigs, art galleries, occasional venues. Occasionally venues pay, but then again, they don't. They pay you with like in tickets or free beer or free pizza or some playing cards or chewed up socks or whatever it is. They pay whatever they've got around. They'll give it to us.
So how did you divide your time between pursuing this, which you seem to really love, and maintaining a living?
They actually combine both. There at that point between say 2012 to 2016, I was in grad school at Columbia, so I was really devoted a lot of my time to my studies as well as maintaining the practice. And from 2016 to about now, well, pre-pandemic, I was sort of just doing things, some acting, some gigging, some other things, getting grants, or getting people giving me like, you get grants or whatever to travel or do whatever you got to do. that's about where I was. Pandemic, though, really changed a lot of things, as you well know. But that's getting a new life. We're getting a new lease on life because of that too, as we have performed throughout the pandemic. No, as much as people say that the pandemic is over, it is not over, and we're still performing, and that's what counts.
So do you perform on Zooms as well, or are you able to perform in socially distanced venues over the pandemic and now?
Yeah, we have. We've mostly performed in outside venues or parks or. I went to Davenport, Iowa, last October. Performed there. And radio, which we're coming back to, WZRD on September 23rd. It'll be the first time in a year and 3/4 that we have been there, because the last time we were there was December of 2019. So I'm looking forward to it. But we have performed over Zoom, maybe on occasion, but I've done more with Skype shows, which is interesting. But way before Zoom came in, I mean, Zoom was there, but Skype was my predominant way of communicating or performing on.
Is Skype a little better now? Before, when I was in school and we had meetings with some people overseas, it seemed that Skype buffered a lot. But were you able to use a version that was less buffering?
I use Skype on mostly at that time. We were using it for recording, because I recorded an album over Skype with Danish punk band Clean Boys, whom I'd met through YouTube, and then through MySpace, and then we started collaborating together. So that's kind of where things were going. But mostly it's been kind of whatever we can get, whatever kind of video stream we can get to shoot back to wherever we're going. I think we're fine. One thing we haven't mentioned is how we make the music, which is I conduct using physical gestures. I created a system in the early days of over 75 plus gestures. I think I've got 100 correct, if I'm correct right now, over 100 gestures that I use with the band. And that's how we make the music. And, we improvise, and then I bring myself into the band as well and play as well. So that's probably one of the most important things about is creating the music.
And the gestures, those are unique to yourself, right? There is not based off of anything another system.
Yes, I mean, it's from everyday gesture. It's from everyday gestures that I use, that I've created, and I watch what other people say and do. Like example, okay, I know we're on. Okay, so I know we're daytime here, but there's some of mine that are pretty popular. So example, this one, if I can do, I'm going to try to do a few of them if I can. If I do like this one, this is downbeat. This is sustained high note 1 octave up. Not right. Maybe it's this way. Sorry, I keep forgetting. This one is kind of a replacement, so for like high E, because usually I use high E with the middle finger. This is like, I'll use this like example. This would be a pull out or stop, or pulling back, stop. If I do this, this makes your music, means make the music softer. I'll make things up on the spot. It's whatever I see, I pull away and make it into my own.
And your band members are able to recognize what you're trying to convey to them.
Yes, they do. They interpret the gestures as their own and they make it their own. Obviously, if it's a drummer, the drummer is going to have to come up with different, he's going to have to come up with a different system, but they all interpret it as their own. I can't tell them what to do. I mean, on occasion I have in a performance, if I'm not hearing that sound in my brain, I will go over to them and show them exactly what they want, and then they'll go ahead and do it. And I'll go back to conducting or doing whatever I'm doing.
Why candy store henchmen and not any other kind of henchman?
Okay, so you're asking about the name. Am I
Yes,
correct on
yes,
that?
yes.
Okay. Well, the candy store henchman, the name was born really when I was on tour in Denmark in 2010. We had played at a venue that was called Candy Store Operators, which was in Copenhagen. It was a warehouse. It was a beat up warehouse, secret warehouse in Copenhagen. And the band's name was originally called Sid Yiddish and his Crack House Minions, because it was, this warehouse was also kind of a crack house kind of place. It had that feel for it. So
The band's name was originally called Sid Yiddish and his Crack House Minions.
Well, we seem to have lost a Sid, so bear with us a little bit, and he will be back. Meanwhile, let us play some music. Let's go with Val Leventhal and Sleight of Hand. Music. Let's go with Val Leventhal and Sleight of Hand.
Oh, you work and you slave and you pay your dues. Got your heart on your sleeve, got your holes in your shoes. And all you really want is to shine like the sun. It's the same old deal for everyone, same old story for everyone. And you try and tell them how it is done. Oh, but nobody hears, nobody sees, only in the heart is the vision that leads. Da 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 da. So you're up on the stage for 1,000 strong, and you're not quite sure that you really belong. So you give them everything you've got, and somehow they think you're something you're not. They keep thinking you're something you're not, and you try and tell them what you've learned. Oh, but nobody hears, nobody sees, every living soul's got everything it needs. Nobody hears, nobody sees, only in the heart is the vision that leads. And it's sleight of hand, sleight of hand, like this sleight of hand, no man. And when you finally get it, they won't know how you did it. Da 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 da. Now the media comes with their microphones and they ask you how you got so well known. So you tell them all your struggle and strife. Now every mother's son wants to live your life. Everybody trying to live your life, and you try and tell them how it's grown. Oh, nobody hears, nobody sees, every living soul's got everything it needs. Nobody hears, nobody sees, only in the heart is the vision that leads. And it's sleight of hand, sleight of hand, like this sleight of hand, my friend. bar guys and barflies in polos and pants, workers and players, beggars and saints. They feed their addictions and follow their bliss, try to heal their afflictions. It's hit or it's miss. And they'll tell you a joke, and they'll rhyme you a rhyme, and nobody leaves till it's closing time. Cafes and barrooms, stations, fairs, everyone's no one and nobody cares. 'Cause we're all here together, just partners in crime, and nobody leaves until closing time.
Okay, we have Sid Yiddish back with us after a little musical interlude. Sid, can you hear me well? And you are muted. Sid, can you hear me well? And you are muted. Yes, I can hear you now a little bit.
Yep.
There
How
we
about
go.
this? Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Well, occasionally some interference comes through, you know, and some bigger force just doesn't want you to talk or tell the truth. You know how that goes.
Yes. Well, let's see where we were. The Copenhagen, the candy store venue that inspired the name, Candy Store Henchmen.
Right. It was called, the name of the venue was called Candy Store Operators, and it was called, in Danish, it's Bols Fabrikken, which is the best enunciation I can give. And I named the band after that because I was really inspired by the performances I had seen in the place, and I really liked the place, and that's kind of where it was. I don't think I could have called it anything else. I didn't think it would work as Sid Yiddish and his yellow cheese crackers. I don't think that would have worked. I mean, I had a lot of other names. I have a whole list of band names, but that one just seemed to fit really well.
And that was in 2012?
No, that was spring of 2010 that I had traveled to Denmark. But you know, the concept of the band really was kind of like, I wanted to be like a big band concept, like it was, you know, between the 1920s through the 1950s, and you know, like the whacked outness of Spike Jones and the City Slickers, or like Mickey Katz, of Yiddish fame, Yiddish novelty fame, Duke Ellington, bands like that. Cab Calloway, another comedy kind of guy, at least to me. That's kind of where we were going. That's kind of where I was going with the band.
When you were starting off, was it more music or was it more performance art and comedy?
Okay, can you repeat the question for me?
When you started out, like in 2010 and the
Oh,
primary
okay.
years, was it more of music performance or was it more of comedy and concept kind of?
When I started out in 2010, it was more like it started more as like poetry, and it's not it's not meant as comedy. I take it very seriously what I do, but it sure looks like comedy, and there's some theatrics involved, and there's music, and there are other specifics that are just thrown in there. There are people that think we are comedic, and there are just some things that happen that are classic Henchmen shows we have some shows that are total failures, just total failures, or things happen where we've had on occasion band members fighting against each other and people think it's staged, or the power goes out and people think that's stage two, or people just walk off stage, walk on stage, start playing, or just get up. There's a lot of factors that are involved that just happen with our performances. No two henchman performances are alike, as they say, like with snowflakes, but we're like snowflakes, but in a musical way.
So do you find chaos in order or order in chaos, and why?
Well, I find both. I find both order and chaos and order. They go together hand in hand. I mean, personally, I think nothing can be organized without having a little chaos involved. And chaos could be anything from like, I just make it look like I know what I'm doing. That's how I do it. And so it looks like chaos to someone else, but to me, it's like throwing 30 eggs in the air and catching them all with your hands.
What would you say was your best show ever and why?
Oh, best shows. The best shows are the ones that don't go planned. I think those are my best shows. In terms of a venue, I think the best place, I don't know, I would say the Museum of Contemporary Art was a great show. That was October 30, 2018. And there was also, there was one I played in Copenhagen in 2018. It was summer of 2018. There was one I played in Aarhus, Denmark. Also a great show because a lot of anarchists there and a lot of real that was a tough year because I remember that summer, that tour, because it was a very wild tour. I remember I was conducting once and somebody who was totally drunk just came up with like a rusty instrument, and they started taking swings, and the security came and they just grabbed her before she could swing at my head. So it's people see this stuff and they think it's funny and they think it's whatever they do, but I didn't even see them coming, and they grabbed her before she could get to me. But the rest of the band saw it, so but they were trying to warn me, but I can never see stuff in the back because my back is always turned to the audience. So
there were anarchists over there. Was it during some protest or over some economic meeting?
No, they had just come to watch. And the one thing you don't give to anarchists, the one thing you don't supply at a party, or they show up with anyway, is alcohol and illicit drugs, as we say. And I guarantee you, if your system's full of that, who knows what you're going to do. Now that's perfect chaos right there, but that's not what you have to be so you should be at least a bit sober enough to be able to handle your drink or your illicit drugs and or your music playing.
Well, I'm glad that you didn't get hurt. So with all these improvisational performances, did anyone ever get hurt?
No, we're not the band. No, that's the one thing we don't do. We don't advocate hurting people at all. We do not do that. We definitely don't do that. We're not that kind of band.
Oh, I understand that. It's just that there were, it seemed that a lot of things go unplanned, and then who knows what happens when something unplanned happens. That's all.
Right, right.
Okay. Okay, there were some instruments that you described. What is the instrument that is called the theremins? Theremins.
Well, no, theremin is one. Theremins are two. So, you know, plural, I mean. So a theremin, the ones I use are foot pedal theremins, which are like these little boxes, and it has a silver kind of roundular thing, and you plug it in, and you just kind of like, you can kind of like put your hand over, your foot over it, and just kind of makes like a wavy sound, kind of like a something like that. Although that's not quite it, but it's close. And mostly, if you've ever heard the theme to Star Trek, they use theremins in the theme to Star. They use a theremin in the
Original one?
Yes, the original Star Trek, the one from television, 1965, I think. Is before most people's times, I guess, but maybe not. I don't know. But we were talking about instruments, I think too, and found instruments. I use a lot of found instruments. So I've got some things to show you that are found. So this I found in Denmark at a recyclery place. This is a letter reindeer kind of thing here. You see that? Like the hole right there. So I've got a pair of chopsticks, and you can easily, you know, make it a rhythm instrument, you see? Like that. So, and I'll show you some other things I have here. So here's a medicine bottle. This is horse chestnut extract. So this is a nice rhythm instrument. I mean, you can use a box of mac and cheese too, and make that a nice percussion instrument. Okay, so this is some plastic, and you take the plastic, and you can make that into sort of an instrument. And also, since you work at a radio station, you've got lots of paper. So what you can do with paper is you rip it like that, and that makes instruments as well, makes a sound of some kind. There you go. And so that's instruments as well, just pretty much anything found. Like one time I found it, I think it was at it wasn't at ZRD, it was another venue. I found a pair of shutters, and somebody who hadn't used them, and I said, here, you can play these. You just stroke them and make them into a rhythm instrument.
Wow. And what about the discarded agent devices? Are those the things that you said that you find around and then use them?
Yeah. And I mean, there's other things that I have here in my studio that I use, that I occasionally find. Instruments that were made for me out of discarded things. I have quite a few of those things here still. I still have my my fishing pole bass harp, which I rarely use, but it's fiberglass. It's kind of pulled over, and it's propelled. The sound is propelled by industrial rubber bands, and you can kind of play it, but you have to add a contact mic to it in order to hear the sound, and, you know, plug it into an amp, but then you can hear it perfect. It sounds kind of like a plunger sound in a way.
Do you begin compositions with a theme, or do the sounds of the Henchmen inspire a theme?
There is no theme to Henchmen. What is, you know. I think in a composition, when I write the set list, I just kind of put things down that we've done. Like mostly we have a lot of Henchmen standards that I use. But when I come up with a brand new one, I kind of have a certain idea in mind. I'll just title it or something, and then I kind of know when I get there if we're going to get to it or not. But I have a certain kind of idea where it's going to go. I mean, most of the compositions are written straight from my brain. I have no scores for anything, which is except for the occasional instructions, like for example, on Until Further Notice, Every Day Feels Like Sunday. At least two of those have instructions. Flight of the Satanic Danish Squirrel has instructions. And of course, Gabriel's Revenge has instructions too. Also, 90-minute Delay on the Eisenhower has some specific instructions too. So those are the only ones that have the scores that have, our compositions that have instructions. Everything else is,
Go ahead.
everything else is just straight out of my brain.
For your tracks, are they, did you record them at, let's say, experimental sound studios, or were
Yes,
these recorded?
yes. Interesting, Gabriel's Revenge, it's only been performed 3 times, but maybe twice by the Henchmen, once in the studio, and then we did it live at the Mutiny, but when the Mutiny was still around, that spring, I think we did.
Because the sound sounded really good. We played 2 of the tracks before you came on.
But which ones did you play?
The one with the monkey and banana, and
Oh,
also
yeah,
Gabriel's Revenge.
monkey with a shaved banana allergy. Yeah.
Yes, yes, they were very nice. Actually, Gabriel's Revenge, the music under there, the undercurrent was very beautiful. Actually, very beautiful. Where did you find
Thank
that?
you. Well, the inspiration for that particular composition was based on a true story, or a true feeling I had. I went outside to do something. It was twilight, and I heard horns coming from the sky. I mean, it was really faint, but I could hear it. It wasn't anything that I was imagining, because I heard them. And I went back to write it all down, and that's kind of how it came. And in my brain, I had to really sit and think about how End of Days would sound, because it's really about end of days. And I had to think about how things were gonna go. So that's kind of how it went, and I just pieced it together. A bit of it was a poem of mine, which when you hear me talk about, it's a poem called Angel Meditation Poem, and the words were actually from the poem that I wrote, but it fit that. And the flute player is a local guy, Dennis the Menace, who was with us at the time. And he came in, and he, in the beginning, he's in the beginning and he's in the end too. And it just came together really well. It just came together really well.
The flute music was very beautiful. Was that a composition from what you remembered when you kind of had your vision, or was it just composed afterwards?
No, it was just players who are musicians who come to me. They just bring to the table what they bring on that day. There's no rehearsing, no nothing. At that point, there was no rehearsing, no nothing. So it was really good. I mean, I've tried rehearsing, and it comes out, it comes out okay. But the thing is, sometimes you can rehearse too much, even for improvisation, and it might sound really lousy to me, but it takes me a few listens to understand it. But I stopped rehearsing because I only rehearse for special occasions or specific pieces. But I used to not rehearse, and it just sounded so much better. but rehearsing still doesn't help. Even if I've tried special pieces, I've got what I've written. I've got at least 3 what I call punk operas, and they're very like Monkey with a Shaved Banana Allergy came from an environmental opera that I had written. There were 8 compositions in that. There's another one that I did called DP, which is about depression and anxiety. And then there is the Bird Opera, and that's only been performed a few times. So I try not to perform those operas a lot because they can get lost in confusion and it can confuse players, and they just think it's just made up, so it's just going to sound any old way. And I said, no, I'm looking for specifics.
So is this Until Further Notice, Every Day Feels Like Sunday? Is this your first album, or have you done albums before?
Yes, I have. The other 3 I can mention on CD, although one I'm going to change a word because this is radio, and we don't want to get you in trouble. Sure. So the first one's called Leather Strawberries, which was recorded on WZRD actually in 2012, May 10th, 2012. And then there was Mary, we'll just say it was called Mary F, fill in the blanks. Happy was the second one. First one came out in 2012. The next one was 2014. And this was the first studio effort that I made in 2018, but I didn't put this out till this year, just because I was shopping it around, and then the pandemic hit, and I was still looking for things, but I couldn't do anything. And and also this one, the first 2 were like kind of using graphics, basic graphics, although Mary Effing Happy was an artist who lives now lives in New York, we played in my band at the time. And then of course Until Further Notice, Every Day Feels Like Sunday, this one, the artist here, which I failed to mention before and I need to mention, her name is Gru Shackelford, and she did all the artwork, and brilliant stuff too, I have to say. She really did a great job. And she lives in Philadelphia, and I knew her, I've known her for many, many years. So she's done other work for me. And there might be, let me see. Nope, I don't see it on this hat. There is, she designed a Furby tour pin for me when I went over to Denmark in 2018, and she's done other work for me, and she's really a great person overall. And people can look her up on Facebook if they do want to use her work.
Gru Shackelford.
Yes, Gru Shackelford, Grue, and then SHACKEL Ford.
If they do want to use your work.
What was the turning point in which you were able to dedicate more time to Sid Yiddish and his candy store Henchmen, or has it always been kind of in the background and you're always doing it?
Yeah, well, it's always been in the background and I've been doing it, but it really seemed to come together during grad school years, and the pandemic, I think, are the 2 biggest times for me. But when I've traveled, especially to Denmark, the tours I've made to Denmark, all 3 of them have had Henchmen bands, I guess you could say. But
So,
I teach. Go ahead.
So in Denmark, they have a style of music. At least there's a scene over there that resembles what you like to perform.
There is a noise scene there, but when I come in, I teach my henchman method. So I've taught the henchman method throughout the United States and in Denmark, and it's just I put musicians together and we play. I teach them about 10 basic signals, and then we play together.
What other countries have you traveled to as you bring your music to around the world?
Oh, well, mostly it's been United States, United States and Denmark. They seem more receptive in Denmark. I'm definitely willing to try other countries, but Denmark has really been my favorite.
Well, how did you begin going to Denmark? What was the connection that started it off?
Well, the connection was, as I stated earlier, was YouTube. Their lead singer, Pedro De Palma, he was looking for videos. He was looking for Artless videos. Artless is a band in New York in the 80s. And when he couldn't find anything there, he looked for Michael Board, who I had mentioned, that Michael Board Weasel Squeezer, and they couldn't find him. They couldn't find anything for him, but they did find my video called Michael Board Weasel Squeezer. And then we just kind of talked to each other, and then they started collaborating with me for the next few years, doing festivals. They were my backing band over Skype, and then Pedro said, "Oh, you should come over and tour with us." And I said, "Not until we have a record." And then we made that record over Skype in February 2010. They produced it over there, released it over there, and then I flew to Denmark, and we had a 3.5 week tour of it was mostly workshops and performing with the band and doing the entire album there, which the album I had done with the Clean Boys, and that was called Safari Freak Show Adventure, and we named it after a Pedro had kept calling what we were doing like a freak show, and I happen to have a flashlight. It's just on the title of the flashlight. It said Safari Adventure, and I thought, bingo. And so we called the album Safari Freak Show Adventure. So it's based on a flashlight and what Pedro kept saying about what it was like playing with me, performing with me, actually.
Can you describe your work with Experimental Sound Studio?
Well, it was just a studio that we recorded in about 2.5, 3 hours. Everything was in one take, just one take, no second takes. I did some mixing and mastering there afterwards, but they're really a great bunch to work with. Ralph Loca, or I think it's Lorza Loca. Sorry, Ralph, I don't mean to butcher your name, but Ralph is really a great person to work with. And that's about it. It was just a recording studio. That's all it was.
For this album,
yes, for this album. Yes.
What about that last album in Denmark? How well was that received, and did you get any airplay on radio in Denmark?
I think we did get some. We did get some on a station out there. It was in Aarhus. It was a student radio station. We got a play out there. They were pretty receptive. This was in 2010 when I first went over there. I'd never been to Denmark. I'd never met them before, but we were all talking on Skype. So I guess in some ways they had met me. I mean, we had done an interview on another station, and a lot of his friends were listening in, and Pedro was also interviewed on that station as well. And his mother was listening in, and I was asked, well, I mean, why Denmark? What do you think of Denmark? And I said, well, it's really a beautiful country and it's beautiful people. And I remember Pedro telling me his mother said, I must meet Sid, because this is like an American who, Americans are guarded or disregarded over there, but I mean, just I felt from that time, and I still feel this way, that, you know, 11, no, yeah, it could be 11 years later, that it's still a very friendly country, and the people are very honest, they're very trusting. You know, they have happy problems. You know, United States does not have happy problems, as you well know. Um, but but yeah, that's kind of where it was, and I was very well received, very, very well received there. You know, they thought, I think a lot of people thought I might have been a little bit off, a little bit whacked out, but I'm used to that. So it's very, it's par for the course.
Any advice for our communications, music, and theater students?
Oh, you bet. Keep doing what you're doing, keep trying, keep breaking those barriers, sound and otherwise. Just keep breaking down those doors, you know. You need to just keep going for your goals, keep going for your dreams. I mean, I've been at it for maybe close to, I don't know, 30, 40 years. And because I technically started in my teens, but not this stuff. So about maybe 20 some odd years, something like that. But anyway, the point is just keep doing what you're doing. Just keep at it, keep working on it. If they don't like it, too bad. Just keep doing what you're doing. Somebody does.
Any advice about how to balance making a living and then also pursuing something like this?
You should probably have a backup job just in case it fails, because industries are such that that you might make it, you might be a one-hit wonder, and then you can go all the way. But it's really different now, and I think you probably need a manager, if you can't manage yourself, or somebody who can book you or whatnot, but have that backup job ready, you know. So if you're in accounting or plumbing, or you know, you're a funeral director, have that backup job ready just in case your creative part fails. And if not, and if it fails, keep retooling it until you think it doesn't work. But if you don't want to, and just stick to what you're doing, just stick to what you're doing.
Do you have a manager?
No, it's just me, and I roll the dice. So I am certainly looking for a manager.
For your band members, like currently you have a couple that are a couple of them that were on this like Drew Kevlington and Helen Kellogg and Knit Not Knit. But how have your band members changed over the years? Have you had many changes or
Yeah, definitely. There's been the way I like to say it is that we've had quite a few members that are, without saying who they are mentally challenged. So I work on specific levels to make sure that their needs are met and to understand them as much as I can. The last two units specifically, I've had that, I don't want to say it's a situation, because that's what they bring to the table, but their playing is extraordinary. It's just that that's a piece that you have to kind of figure out and play with and figure out how it works and how it'll fit inside. But it is what it is. And that's what they bring to the table, and there's no way of like just eradicating it. Just you live with it.
has it been recently, like in about what year? It seemed as if suddenly you're everywhere. Was there anything that happened to make that so?
Well,
in Chicago, we kind of hear you everywhere.
Well, I can't, I don't know, but whoever's doing it, I thank them profusely. That's great to hear, though. You had, I really don't. I just continually promote myself. That's all. You have to self-promote your own work, DIY, do it yourself. You had asked me earlier about band members, I think, and how many maybe I've had over the years. I want to say it's close to over 200, and it's a lot of people. I mean, it does this running through the band. You know, it can take a toll. It can drain people. Like Juke Wellington, he was with us for 6 years, and then he left, and then he came back a couple years ago. So he's kind of like his second time around, and the others are just Helen Kellogg. His name changed, as did Jews. And that happens too. Their names will change. We try not to reveal real names, you know, just for because it's a secret club, you know. Everybody has. We're in the secret club, so everybody gets a name, whether they want one or not.
This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. We have with us at Wizard via Zoom, Sid Yiddish of Sid Yiddish and his candy store Henchmen. So when you have your different bandmates, every one of them has a different sound. So with this kind of work, there definitely is no one that is similar, correct?
Yes, definitely no one is similar. Not in my band. Thank goodness for that.
Okay. Well, Sid, let's do a WZRD community assessment with you. WZRD Chicago, being a nonprofit radio station, must be responsible to the community we serve. WZRD is mandated to file quarterly issues with the FCC on non-entertainment community-focused programming. We like to assess the community for these quarterly issue topics with 3 questions. First, what is most important to you?
Spreading happiness and organized chaos to one person at a time.
Second, what long-term problem must we address?
Negativity. We have to eradicate that. Absolutely. So that's what I try to do in my own personal life and with the band.
And so you're very accepting of different talents and different bandmates. Then how do you decide that this is someone that would fit into the band and you would invite them in?
If I've heard their work before, or if I've heard their sounds, you know, or talk to them, I can get a kind of a feel for what they're like and what they might produce. I kind of like if we're on the same level somewhat, then I know it's going to work. And if we're not on the same level, I try to make it work. And if it doesn't work, out they go.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the third question for our community assessment is, what problem must be resolved now?
Let's just say negativity. Negativity has to be eradicated. Just has to go. Absolutely has to go. And we hear it every day. And there's just so much of it. Politics, in our personal lives. I'd say you see it, and you see it a lot on social media. Now it might turn around, and you know they out people, you know, by saying people just say dumb things all the time. I mean, I've done it too. But you just have to eradicate it. Just get rid of it. I'm not saying there has to be obviously there has to be some kind of balance, but you know, but I think in general that just negativity just has to go. We should be having happy problems like Denmark. Like just let's say, let's just give an example. Say your car's broken down, which has happened to me. And it happened to us, like on one of the tours. It's a happy problem. It can get fixed. You get towed, you hang out somewhere while it's getting fixed, and then you go on to the gig. That's a happy problem. Nobody, I saw nobody in our party that was upset. At least they hit it well. Here it happens, people get upset, they stress out too much. We got to get rid of stress and negativity.
So negativity is the short-term problem and the long-term problem.
Yeah, I think so.
Mhm.
Negativity and it's got to get rid of stress.
Are you working on your next album?
Yes, that's next year. I've been talking about it. We'll go and record probably sometime in 2022. I don't even know. I haven't even put together the compositions yet, but the newer ones we've been working on that you'll hear, everybody will hear if they decide to listen in on September 23rd to Thursday Night Live, you'll hear some of our newer ones that I'm really liking. I'm also working on a Danish project, which I'll return next year sometime, I think. And I'm working on an album called Sid Yiddish's Greatest Danish Hits, which is our compositions or songs that I recorded between 2007 and 2018, which includes studio, live, and outtakes, and just little bits and pieces and things like that.
So that would be the next album.
Well, there's two of them. So one's going to be a
Oh.
Henchmen album, and one's going to be a separate Sid
Danish.
Yiddish solo album. Yeah, Danish
Oh.
Danish greatest hits, but it'll be all in English, mostly.
Okay, Sid Yiddish of the Sid Yiddish and his candy store Henchmen. Thank you so much for joining us at WZRD Chicago 88.0 FM today. And remember, listeners, please tune in on Thursday, September 23rd, about 10 p.m. to hear Sid Yiddish and his candy store Henchmen live on Thursday Night Live on WZRD. Sid, thank you again, and we will now play a couple of your songs. Let's see if the news is going on, and right after that, we'll play your songs.
Great.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Sure.